Hi, guys. Thanks for joining me. This is so fun. Thanks for joining me on a Thursday. Can you hear me okay? Yeah? Awesome. I know you're all muted. Hi, everybody. I know you're coming in. I love seeing familiar faces. This is just makes me so happy. Um, like I said, thanks for joining me on a Thursday afternoon. We're going to talk all about reels. This is kind of my my favorite topic, as some of you might have come to realize. But first, most importantly, um, thank you so much to everyone who donated today. It really just, if you didn't, it's fine. I completely understand the times that we're in. Thank you for being here to support anyway. For those that even donated $1, $5, my God, $100. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. It's such an important time that we can come together as a community right now, really more than ever, just to support organizations that really need our support. So with that said, before we get started, I'm really excited to show you our final number. Um, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to screen share, since I'm going to be doing that today anyway, and show you what. Okay, hang on. Screen share. Great. Now you can see my breakdown services here. So this is what we donated to the Center for Black Equity. This number right here, $1,081, and that was all because of you guys. So thank you so much again. If you're not familiar with the Center for Black Equity, it's a really awesome organization. It's essentially a one-stop shop that helps the Black LGBTQ plus community to find organizations that help them with equal rights and economic equity, health equity, social equity, all of that. Just a site that is dedicated to finding those resources for that community. So, yay, that's very exciting. Thank you so much again. For those who, I'm trying to get back here, equate myself back from screen sharing. Okay, cool. So for those who are just now joining, I just shared that because of your generous donations, we donated a little over $1,000 to Center for Black Equity. So thank you. I can't thank you enough. And there's more work to be done, but this is a really great start. So, like I said, today is all about reels, and so how the class is going to go today is I am going to kind of start with like a lecture, if you will, and kind of talk about how we use reels, why reels are so hugely important. And then I'm going to screen share again. That's kind of my new my new favorite tool. And I'm going to show you some examples of reels that really work. I also want to show you some examples of reels where there were really strong actors and they weren't having the opportunities that they were hoping to have. And then show you how a few minor tweaks to their reel made a really big difference, just so you can actually see what that looks like. Um, if you have questions along the way, which I know you will, there will be a Q&A at the end for sure. So I encourage you to please hold on to your questions so we can get to them. If you have anything burning, you can put it in the chat box. If it's like a technical issue, if you can't hear me or something like that, definitely let me know. But we will get to all the questions, I promise. Okay, so, and if you're just popping in, hi, you can ask a question at the end if you want. If you have to leave early, totally fine, not to worry. I get it. This is kind of like I said, it's a donation-based class. So stay for what you can. Cool. All right. So your guys' comments, you're making me giggle. I can't concentrate. Thank you. Okay. I have to be outside, guys, by the way, because I have small kids and it's just a lot quieter and peaceful out here. So hopefully you can appreciate that too. So anyway, how this kind of all got started, and we can talk a little bit about the casting director's cut too if you have any questions there. But really how all of this got started. Oh, hold for playing, hold sound. I'm sorry, I think you can still hear me. Is as casting directors, we were seeing a really large disconnect between, I missed that too, hold for play, between the reels that we needed for actors to book a job and the reels that we were receiving. So I think what a lot of actors don't realize is that as casting directors and associates and as casting offices as a whole, we're actually constantly re-editing actors' reels as a part of our daily job to help actors get the job. That's part of what we do. So, and many times we don't tell the actor, we don't tell the agent, we just go ahead and re-edit it because it's not working for them, and we know that the studio and the network is not going to approve. So we go ahead and take that liberty because we assume that the actor wants the job and that we have to do what's needed to be done. So what happens is, we're seeing a lot of these reels that have elements that just don't work. For example, we see a lot of montages. We see a lot of really great work towards the end of the reel that could be missed. We see a lot of footage that doesn't serve the actor. And many actors would come to us. It's not uncommon for an actor multiple times a week to ask me, hey, could you take a look at my reel? I just got it edited. I would love for your feedback. I would love for any advice you have. And I'm happy to do that whenever I have the time to do so. Not all the times do I have the time to do that, but when I have the time to do so, I try to give as much feedback as I can to actors. But I would watch their reels and I would give them some advice. I would give them some pointers, some things that I would change. And they would kind of be a little disappointed by that because they had just gotten it edited and now they are thinking that they should rearrange things. And I'm like, well, you asked for my advice. This is my advice. I'm going to tell you the truth. I don't want to just say looks good, because when you ask my opinion, I'm going to give you my actual opinion. So I know I was kind of talking about this with some colleagues of mine, and we were just kind of, this happens a lot to them. And we just realized if actors had a way where they could consult, hopefully with a casting director, somebody who watches reels every single day as their job before their reel was edited, that would be really helpful. So that way we can, take a look at the footage, see what isn't serving them, and pull the best moments from that and create something that's going to work for casting from a casting director's perspective. And so that's kind of how the concept was born, and how it all got started. Now to talk a little bit about your reel and why it's so important, I think it's really imperative to kind of know what our process is, right? So for any of you who took my Inside the Casting Office class, which happened, I did a couple of them. If not, I'm taking a little bit of a break from that, but might come back to that in the future. But essentially what the purpose of that was to show you, inside the casting office and to see what we see so that you can then, you know, put that perspective in the back of your mind as you're tweaking your materials, knowing, okay, this is what casting directors see and this is what their process is like. Therefore, I'm going to make it easier for them by doing this, this, and this. And we'll kind of go over a little bit of that too. But for those who took that class, it'll be a little bit of a, you'll hear some of that same stuff too. But really the main thing to keep in mind is that in a normal world, in a pre-COVID world, and certainly we're heading back more toward that later, and I can talk a little bit more about that if we want, but there's a lot of content out there. there's a lot of new platforms. There's a lot of streaming platforms. Who knew Verizon would have their own channel, Go 90? I mean, there's just all these new players that are wanting to be part of this new golden era of television, which is a good thing. You know, it's a good thing that there's a lot of work out there. It's a good thing for all of us. What that means for us as casting directors is that we have a lot of work and we have to be incredibly efficient with our time. So these productions are really wanting to crank out these casts as quickly as possible, especially when you're talking about a situation where there are financiers involved and your budget is cast contingent. Never the most fun thing to work on, but it obviously happens. But the point is, they want these things cast as quickly as possible. And so we really just have to be efficient with our time. So, what that means is that we need to be able to see the actor's ability before we bring them in. We do not have the luxury to strike out in a casting session. And what I mean by that is to bring in a group of people and to not have, one person be someone that we're willing to send to our producers and have to go another casting day. That's a huge loss of time for us. Yes, for pilots, we go more than one day. We're given a little bit more time on pilots, which sounds ironic because you hear that pilots are so quick and there's no time. True for the amount of work involved, which, again, if you have more questions about that later, feel free to ask. But for episodic, it's very quick, especially when we're talking about an 8-day prep schedule that we really have to stick to. So there's 8 days to shoot and there's an 8-day prep schedule. Usually by day 7, there's a table read. If there's producer sessions involved, not all of the time, but if there are, it's on, table reads day 7, then producers are like day 5 and 6. So really, we have to have a solid group of actors that we are calling back, by day 4, the latest. And sometimes we're talking upwards to 20 roles in an episode, which is not, it's a lot, but it's not uncommon. And you're talking about thousands of submissions per role. So those of you who took that class again saw that 1,500 to 3,000 submissions was not uncommon for episodic, depending for both guest stars and co-stars. So to maximize our time and to be as efficient as possible, we have to choose sort of these low risk actors, if you will. And what that means is, yes, we read people all the time who we don't know, but the only way for us to make a safe bet on an actor, once again, is to be able to see their ability before we bring them in. And that is what your reel is for. Now, the other side to this is to kind of understand where we're headed in our casting process. So, the more traditional way of casting, which you might be used to, is where we would bring in a group of actors and we would pre-read them, which is essentially their first round of auditions, right? Then from that group, we would then, I would say anywhere between 10 is an insanely high amount. I would say anywhere between 5 to 9, maybe 5 to 9 actors out of maybe a group of 25 that we've seen to bring back in callback for producers. I would say that's probably about average. And then, we would have that producer session. Director and producer would choose their favorites, and then we would then send you to studio and network for approval. That is the more traditional way of casting. I personally myself, I wrapped a series a couple years ago where that was the norm. They were in their 15th season. This is just how they did things, and this is how they wanted it done. Fine, right? So we rolled with it. Now, before that specific series, I had not done a producer session in almost 7 years. And the reason is because what we're seeing more often is that instead of having producer sessions, we're putting people on tape for producers, meaning there is just one audition, there is no callback. And we are then using that audition and sending it to the producers, and they then collaborate, talk amongst themselves either on the email chain or in person, and then get back to us on that chain and tell us who their favorites are. That is where we're headed. The reason why largely has to do with the fact that so many shows started to shoot out of town from where the writers' offices were. So, especially on TV shows where the writers produce their own episodes, what that means is they're expected to be on set and produce on set. Not every show does that, but a lot of them do. That's up to the showrunner. So because of that, they were already in prep in, say, Vancouver, Austin, New Orleans, wherever they're shooting, and they're not available for a casting session. We're seeing a lot of that. It's also difficult to find an hour or two of the producer's time to in the prep schedule and take them away from those studio notes, take them away from those network notes, take them away from special effects meetings, all of these different things to get them to sit down for a casting session for 2+ hours when they know they can just watch a link and watch at their own leisure. So that's starting to be the preference. The nice thing about that is that there's a little bit less pressure. I mean, sometimes producer sessions, they shouldn't be, but sometimes they can feel a little scary because the producers, they don't work with actors, especially the writer, producer, and the showrunner. They don't work with actors day to day like we do. They don't really, might not know how to interact. And so it might come off as kind of cold, but really they're just not really knowing, like, can I greet you? Can I not? And it just can be kind of a more nerve-wracking, awkward experience when you walk into this room and all these people are kind of staring at you. So the nice thing is that, when we don't have that, then you can just come in for us, and then you and I, casting director, actor, can work together to get you the take that is going to book you the job. That is my job. My job is to not let you walk out that door until I believe I have the take that my producers are going to respond to. That can be one take, that can be 5 takes. It depends obviously per person. Don't overthink it if it's just one take. Most of us don't want to mess with a good thing, and you start to get in your head, and then usually the first take is always the better take. But again, that is our job. It's on us to get that take that we know the producers are looking for. That is on us. That's our responsibility. So that's the nice thing about that situation. And certainly that's what we're going to be more headed going into virtual casting. Yes, there are talks of Zoom callbacks. I think that we're going to be seeing not a lot of those situations, but more of the put actors on tape for producers, which is what that means. Now, what that means for you is that, in a way, now that we're kind of done with this pre-read producer session situation and we're just coming in EcoCast Live is another thing that Breakdown is working on. It's essentially Zoom for casting. I have yet to be able to join one of the webinars. It looks really interesting. We can definitely talk more about that later if you want. But what that means for you is that, in a way, your reel has then replaced that pre-read. So instead of having that ability to bring actors in, pre-read them, meet some people, see, who we want to call back for producers, we have it in our head that we are seeing this roll on one day. We are not calling them back, and we need to make sure that we are bringing in good people because we are planning to pitch to our producers at the end of the casting day. So again, we're looking at your reel as a form of that pre-read. We are making those judgments from your reel, which is why it is so hugely important, which is why we're here all talking about it, and still a lot to talk about. at the end of the day, unfortunately or not, what I will say is, as an actor, you are only as good as your reel, right? So you can have an amazingly highly skilled actor with incredible training, the next Meryl Streep out there waiting to be discovered. But if your reel is not showing that, you are going to find yourself stuck because we can't take that chance, right? We only have a certain amount of time to get this right. And you might be that actor, you might be that actor for that job, but I don't know that because I don't see it in your reel. So those are the kinds of things that we're going to talk about in a little bit. We also use your reel to help you get approved, like I said, by the studio network. And also, we do send your reel for the most part with your audition as supplemental material to the producers. So many times when they are in between one of two actors, when they're in between, even two or three people, and they like all of their reads and they're having trouble making that decision, they'll then look at your reel and they kind of say, hey, all of these people are right for it. They all had great auditions, but this reel really stuck out to me and I like that because now I know my director can have more to play with. So, or if there's a chance that this character can come back in future episodes, that reel is going to be really helpful to know what your skill level is at and that you can handle whatever the writers send your way. So many times that is a deciding factor in between a few actors. They all had great auditions. Ultimately, it happens all the time. We hear the producers say, "Hey, I really like this person, but this person's real. Like they just seem really like a really special actor. I'd really love to go with them." Cool. So then we also use the reel to get you approved by the studio network. They don't put as much emphasis on the really smaller co-stars or the under five, as some people say. Co-stars are there. In my opinion, the term co-star means I'm an entry level actor. So you don't have to have this large body of work. You don't have to have this, super long, comprehensive reel. But anything over that, they are taking a look at your reel to make sure. Once again, it's their responsibility to approve an actor. They want to make sure that they are giving a strong actor to this director on set, especially if there's no producer session. They're kind of just banking on this person's audition, and they need to make sure that they're not like a one-hit wonder, right? Like they weren't just coached profusely on this self-tape, and that once they show up on set, if it's a straightforward doctor who's just kind of giving a diagnosis, and then all of a sudden the director says, hey, could you have a little more empathy? Maybe this diagnosis is really personal to you. And who knew that was what they wanted, but we need to know that you can do that. All of that is kind of, we can advocate for you more with your reel. So those are kind of all the reasons why they're important, how we use them in our casting process, and how we kind of came to this whole idea with the casting director's cut in order to help actors, help directors, help producers, help our studio network and everyone, just to make sure that we're all on the same page, because there has been this sort of disconnect from what we're seeing, and what actors really need to build them up for success. So before we get started, I know I always get this question, and so I anticipate it. And I just want to talk a little bit about the difference between a fully crafted reel and separate clips. So there is a lot of conflicting information out there about what should I have. And again, those who took the Inside the Casting Director's Office saw how those come into play when we are going through submissions. But really quickly, just to give you an overview, I want to preface this by saying I'm not against separate clips, but here's what happens if you only have separate clips and you don't have a reel. So, many times when we're going through submissions, we pull up an actor's profile and we are faced with this long list of clips that they have supplied us, and it can be a little overwhelming, right? You don't really know where to click first. So most of us are just going to click on the first thing, because even though you can label your clips a certain way, it doesn't really mean much. So grieving mother, you know, broken hearted, uh, breakup from a relationship, whatever. I don't really know what those mean until I click on them. It could be a drama, it could be a comedy, it could be you saying one word, it could be without any dialogue. I can't make a safe bet or decision based on that description. I'm going to have to click on it, right? So the problem is sometimes what happens with these separate clips is that we click on the wrong thing and then we move on. So, I've seen this happen a lot with actors who I'm familiar with, and a colleague in my office or an associate in our office. We kind of like to collaborate just to help the time go by faster. And we'll talk to each other out loud as we're going through submissions. And we'll say, oh, what about this person? What about this person? Just again, collaboration just makes the whole day go a little bit faster when you're looking at like 10,000 people in a day. And I've seen this happen where there's an actor that I'm familiar with that someone else is not. And I'll mention someone out loud, hey, what about this person? And then they'll say, let me take a look at their stuff. Take a look at it. They click on the wrong clip and they say, no way, he's totally wrong for it. Like, and I'm like, what do you mean he's totally wrong for it? And I'll walk over there and I'll say, you clicked on the wrong thing. Watch, this Walking Dead clip or whatever it is. Take a look at that. And they'll look at it and they'll say, oh, wow, that's awesome. He's perfect. But if I wasn't there, they might have moved on to the next person. So that's the problem, right? Is that sometimes there's missed opportunity because we don't know where to click. We'll click on the first thing. Maybe the first thing isn't always the thing that's going to sell us. A reel is something that we can navigate to find what we're looking for. So I know how to navigate a reel to see if the person is right or not. And it's just a matter of those microseconds, which seems silly, but when you're working at a really fast pace with a large workload, shortcuts are kind of key to get through that efficiently, right? We use shortcuts all the time. So instead of me having to open a clip, skip through it, not being the right click it out, try to find another clip, maybe open up this one. It's not the right one. By this time, the seconds are ticking, and I'm spending a lot of time on this actor that I think is not really the right person. And there's still 10,000 other people that I need to look through. So I'm just going to move on and assume that someone else is better out there because I only have anywhere between 10 to 30 seconds to spend on one submission because I need to get through these other submissions. So, but with a reel, I can open up that one clip, especially if I'm working on a dramatic project. If it says a drama reel, I know exactly what that is. I know how to navigate it to find what I'm looking for. Now, how most of us go through the reel is we watch the first, say, 10 to 15 seconds, which is so hugely important. I think no matter who you're talking to, agent, manager, another, casting director, they all agree that the first 10 to 15 seconds are everything. And that is entirely true. Because if the first 10 to 15 seconds aren't strong, aren't interesting, aren't intriguing, then we can just turn it off and move on, right? Versus, myself, same thing. So if I can tell right away, they're not strong enough for this, I need to move on. But if I see something that grabs me and interests me, I'm going to watch that first 10, 15 seconds or so. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to skip forward and watch a few seconds of each clip. So that's key too, right? So what happens is if it's kind of not edited properly, what you don't want to have happen is have someone skip forward and there's footage in there that doesn't work for you, that doesn't serve you as an actor. Now I'm second guessing you. I'm seeing stuff in there that's not that great. And the more I kind of skip through, I'm not finding what I'm looking for. And now I'm at this point where I'm spending too much time and I need to move on. They're probably not the right actor for this. So that is something that I talk a lot about too, is that only having footage in your reel that serves you as an actor. For some actors, that means you have a 30-second reel. For some actors, that means you have a 5-minute reel. You guys, there is no rule as to how long your reel needs to be. The reason for that is because we do not have the time to watch the entirety of someone's reel ever. We won't have it unless we're down to like 10 people and I'm choosing who I want to send to my producers. Like maybe then I will watch the entire reel because I want to see what the producers are seeing, right? I might actually re-edit it. But for the most part, when we're going through submissions, we can't watch an entire 30-second reel. So in knowing that, it doesn't matter how long your reel is because the first 10 to 15 seconds are key. And after that, we're skipping forward and watching a few seconds of each clip. So the key is to make sure that everything in your reel is showing you at your highest ability, is showing you at your best light. Now, for some people, they don't have the footage that accurately represents where they are currently at as an actor. And that's a very common problem. Obviously, there's a lot of instances where you book roles that you take because of one reason or the other. It's a money job, it's a connection job, it's just something you felt you needed to do, but it's not necessarily, it doesn't really serve you. It's not a role that you think is going to do much for you. If that's the case, don't put it in your reel, please. Don't put anything in your reel that is not going to serve you because it's very, very, very easy for us. There's a lot of people with great reels, and we're just going to move on. I just had a thought and it just flew away. This happens to me a lot. But that's kind of the gist of having separate clips versus a full reel. Now, I am not against the idea of having separate clips if you think it is helpful to you in some way. One thing I do want to say, this is also usually a time when actors say, well, but what about, self-submitting? I can choose which clips I want to submit. My agent can choose what clips he wants or she wants to submit. um, you know, and they can tailor it to the submission that way. Uh, now, obviously, there's a lot of factors that goes into how is my submission being seen. The number one reason why your submission might not be seen, hands down, is because it's not submitted in a timely manner. And your agents and managers know this. They know how quickly we work. We have to work quickly. For example, when we release a breakdown, say there's 20 roles in the episode, we need to set up at least 3 of those roles for the next day. If we're talking about an episodic that's kind of, pretty, generic, episodic without any sort of, travel involved or anything like that. So if they miss out, if we're looking through these submissions and we're setting up sessions in 2 hours from the breakdown being released and your agent submits you on hour 3, you might lose out on that audition. So, they are very hyper focused on getting that submission in on time, as they should be, right? And so what I have seen on my end, there's a couple instances where agents assistants submit for you and they don't know your footage and your material as well, so they just kind of send everything. And I think sometimes the breakdown's a little vague, so they decide to send everything. From my perspective, from what I see everything. Usually, sometimes the agent spends the extra second to send a clip or two. In my 11 plus years of doing this, I've seen maybe 1% of submissions where they actually took a second to do that. And it's not because they're not doing their job. I want to make that clear. It's because they want to get you in a timely manner. So, they want to get their submissions in on time as they should. So they want to focus, because these breakdowns, you guys, if anyone's ever worked in any sort of agent or manager office, if you've ever interned there, you've seen how quickly the breakdowns come out. It's like boom, boom, boom. Every second the breakdowns come out, and there's a big roster there, right? So you need to get your clients in a timely manner, and by spending the time on each client, to pick and choose the material, you could be losing out on some of those auditions. So I think it's easier for them to just send us everything and to let us make that decision as to, is this all of this stuff going to work? So that's fine. You can put that on us if you want to. Then we're just faced with a lot of material and not a lot of time to make those decisions. So if we see a demo reel up there and it's first, which is great, then you can assume that is going to be the only thing that we click on. And we are hoping and assuming that all of those clips down there are within that reel somewhere. So we don't need to watch the rest of them. So if there's a clip on your profile that you're like, this is the clip that's going to get me more auditions, and it's not in your reel, it will be missed. I'm telling you that. So if you want to have that as a separate clip for yourself, if your agent insists on it, great. I'm probably just never going to click on them, but just make sure you have a master reel up there as well so that I can navigate that in order to find what I'm looking for to bring you in. Does that make sense? So the whole idea here is to kind of, make your reel this virtual presentation of who you are as an actor, where you are currently at and your current skill level. If your footage does not portray where you are currently at, there are things you can do, and I truly hope you do them. And it does not include, Allison, that's exactly what I'm talking about. It does not include you having to go out and make your own content, which you can do. I am very much encouraging of you to go out and create your own content. Absolutely. But first of all, it's tough right now in this COVID world. There's one other thing that I want to say before I get into the self-tape thing. Two things that we're always looking for in a reel. It's kind of just like, that's it, right? Two things: ability. Are you a good actor? That's it, right? And range. So making sure that you have range in your reel that doesn't pigeonhole you too much into one role. Now, this can kind of be confused with, but I need to market my brand, but what's my niche? What do people say? Get rich in your niche. That's like a saying too. In my opinion, a lot of those things are usually, things that acting coaches and agents and managers like to push, because for the most part, when I'm casting a nurse, if I'm casting a lawyer, I'm not looking for that footage in your reel. I'm looking for great actors. I don't know what the director is going to ask of you. I need to know that you can take direction, period. It makes me look good or it makes me look bad. If you have a really strong, incredible reel, I know you can play that doctor lawyer role with your eyes closed. Please focus more on that other than I have to play these certain roles and then I can branch out. Just focus on being a good actor, because being a good actor makes you available for more roles. More roles means more opportunity. So I just want to clear that up. Of course, now I lost my place. Oh, self-tapes. Okay. So yes, self-tapes are amazing, you guys. 50% of the pitches that I get from agents and managers are self-tapes from past auditions, something that the actor did on their own because they felt that their current footage was not an accurate representation of their current skill level, or their footage didn't totally work for what we were looking for, but the agent really believed in them and really wanted them to be considered for this role. So they sent us a self-tape. That is hugely helpful. Once again, we don't want to miss the actor who could book this job. I want to find you. I really, truly, truly, truly do. But I'm not going to be able to find you if it's not in your reel. So that's when I tell actors, look, you've been training with incredible teachers. You've been taking these classes. I know you can do these really emotionally vulnerable, high stake scenes and roles, but it's not in your reel. So I know you can do it because I know you, but how is anyone else going to know that? So that's when you can put a really great scene in self-tape format and put it in your reel. There's nothing wrong with putting self-tapes in your reel. I'm going to repeat that one more time. There's nothing wrong with putting self-tapes in your reel. Your reel is not a director's reel. It's not a producer's reel. It's not a cinematography reel. Okay. It's not a pitch to a Fortune 500 company. It is an acting reel. We need to see good acting, period. And if you don't put it in your reel, then it might be missed. So, you can wait around and wish and hope that maybe someday someone will believe in you and take that chance on you if you want. But that's what's going to happen. You're going to feel stuck, and you're going to feel like, you're so ready to play these roles, to get these auditions. But if you're not wanting to put those self-tapes in your reel, it may not get clicked on, right? If we see a fully crafted reel and then we see some self-tapes at the bottom, one, we're just going to assume the self-tapes are in there, so no need to click on it again, or we're not going to watch it. So it's just missed opportunity. One thing I want to make clear, these self-tapes, you guys, they are just a tool. It's a tool. It's a tool to help you get unstuck. It's a tool to help you get those auditions, to help you book those jobs. Once you start to book those jobs, you can slowly phase in that footage and slowly phase out the self-tapes, okay? But you need that tool to help you get there, or you're going to feel stuck. I just want to read some of these, make sure there's no confusion. Where in the reel is appropriate to put your contact info? So many questions, hold on. Okay, I'm just going to answer a couple of these just because we're on it. Are there such a thing as too many self-tapes? Not really. It's, again, don't focus on the number, focus on what do I need. By the way, part of this whole experience is you don't have to use the whole self-tape, you guys. Just draw from your best moments. So that's exactly, a lot of people are, wondering how exactly it works with the casting director's cut. So that's what we do. We take a look at every single footage you have, self-tapes, old short films you've done, feature films you've done, commercials that you never thought, well, maybe that would have worked. We look at everything. And from our casting perspective, from our casting minds, we pull those best moments for you and construct that reel for you. That's really what it's about. You don't have to use the whole self-tape. I encourage you not to use the whole self-tape. Just pulling those moments that's going to sell you, that's going to show you in your best light. For some people, that looks like one self-tape. For some people, that looks like 5 self-tapes. Don't make a 20-minute self-tape reel. Focus more on, okay, this is a showcase of, me as an actor at my highest ability. That is what you want. Okay. Just want to, I know I said I would do questions at the end, but there were a couple of, one quick thing. As far as which kind of self-tapes to put to record, to use in your reel, there are only 2 rules, really. One is that it has to have aired somewhere. So it can't be a recent audition that, for an episode that hasn't aired yet. It does have to have aired. You also want to not use something that's too iconic or famous. Otherwise, we're just going to start comparing you to that actor, and you certainly don't want that. It's also distracting. So that's what I was going to say. So 2 things we look for in your reel: ability and range. Also, there is something that I call the distraction factor. Okay. When we're think if you kind of put yourself in our shoes, we're watching thousands of reels per day, thousands. it's, when you're doing something that can feel a little bit tedious, if you're writing a big essay, if you're writing something where you're just, that's all you're thinking about, you can have a little bit of ADD, right? It's easy to get distracted. If you have footage in there that is too distracting, meaning you decide to shoot something in your apartment because you'd rather do that than a self-tape, and the audio is not so great and the editing is kind of choppy and it's just distracting, right? We're not going to want to keep watching. That's just all there is to it. So again, I don't think that you need to go out and pay a lot of money to get something on tape when a self-tape is essentially free, and you control the material. That is the best part of a self-tape. You choose the scenes that you resonate with, that you connect with. And guys, that is so important. Please, please, please do not choose a scene that you are choosing because you think it's something we want to see. Choose a scene that you want to do because it inspires you, because it gets the creative juices flowing. Those scenes work so much better than you trying to fit, I see this cast director does procedurals. I see this cast director does a lot of horror. I need to do something for them. Don't focus on that. Focus on being a great actor, please. And the scenes that you choose that really speak to you, that you just really connect with, when you read it, you get the actor goosebumps. Those are the scenes you should be choosing. And there's a lot of scenes out there, so you kind of just have to do a little bit of digging and research. If it's from a show that you really love or you want to be on or whatever it is, transcribe it. If it's already aired, transcribe it and use a scene from that. And the nice thing is that you also control the reader, so you can find a great reader to work with you. I always encourage actors when we're working on reels, since it's for your reel, and this is going to go out to a lot of people, coaching with a cast director or an acting coach or whoever it is that works best for you is a good idea, because while I don't think it's necessary to coach on every single audition, if you're going to coach on something, self-tapes for your reel is probably where you want to put that time, energy, and money. I think it was Melissa asking about theater clips, Melissa. So I think it was, yes. Okay, so what I would really quickly say about that's, in my opinion, what would fall into that distraction factor, because with a self-tape, you really want, I hope you guys can still hear me because I have the microphone up here, but it should be like a nice medium close-up right here, a really good self-tape. And there's lots of great self-tape classes out there if you really want to, make sure that you're really doing them as best as you can. But when you're too far away, which happens a lot with theater, and we can't hear you very well and it's too far away, that's where that distraction factor comes in. And I'm struggling to pay attention. I'm struggling to connect with you. I'm struggling to see your choices, and I'm going to get distracted and I'm going to move on. So very rarely do I see a theater clip where it's pretty close on you. The audio sounds at least like this right now. Your eyes are so well lit that I can see the amazing thoughts behind those eyes that might be triggering something really interesting. That's really hard to get in a theater clip. So if it's a scene from a play that you did that you're really excited about or really proud of, put it on tape and self-tape format. That's your best bet than taking that clip straight from the theater. Okay. How are we doing on time? I think it's time to do a little screen sharing. Okay. Right. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is I am going to share with you, like I said, my new favorite tool is the screen share tool. And I want to just show you a couple of differences. I want to show you some really strong reels. I want to show you some differences between, these are all really great actors, you guys. And yes, I got all of their permission prior to this class just to make sure that was out there. These are all really strong actors who, I saw their reel, and and they're not getting a lot. They're not getting as many auditions as they would like. They're not getting with agents and managers they would like. They're feeling stuck, but they're also feeling very confident in their ability. So while the reels are fine, which I'll show you, you can see the difference when we kind of reconstruct them and show them in their best light. And once again, I kind of went over this briefly, but you know, you're not going to see any montages. You're not going to, someone mentioned headshots or contact info. We don't need that. Why don't we need that? Because if we're already clicking on your media tab, then we're pulling it from, again, those of you who saw my casting office class, we're pulling it from your submission that has your contact info right there. There's absolutely no world in which we would ever need your contact information in your reel whatsoever. All right, so let me do this. And the audio should work so that you can hear my computer. I tested this before, so hopefully this will be good. Okay, so here are, can you hear me okay still? Okay, here we go. So I'm gonna start with, who should we start with? Let's start with Deborah. So this is her original reel. Some of them, you know, there's kind of a lot of examples here. I might not show all of them. I'm probably gonna skip forward a little bit just in case they're a little bit longer, just to kind of get to the point. But we'll start here. Let's see if this works. I might just have to, VLC player. Come on. Okay, I don't think I'm gonna use this. I think I'm just gonna do it this way, which is fine. Hold on. This works. All right, here we go. I can't hear it, which is a little strange, but. Okay, so I'm gonna talk over this. So this is really cool. She actually self-produced this. It's like a Star Wars tribute. Uh-oh, internet connection unstable. We'll keep going. It's like a Star Wars tribute thing. It looks cool, right? Like, it's like, I can't believe she did this herself, but am I seeing the acting, or am I just seeing kind of this cool fight scene? So immediately I'm gonna start skipping. Let me get to this right here.
Boo. Oh.
So she has this scene that,
you know, I didn't even have to break in.
Is
Who
her,
left her doors unlocked?
This cop, kind of
Who
this
does that in 2019?
Who are you?
Which
I was about to ask you the same thing.
Kind of for some sort
you
of
see,
like
I followed
dramedy,
you last night
type genre
from Bar 52
but I'm looking
to
for some
Julia
dramatic
Jones's apartment.
stuff, right? You know,
Oh,
so
don't ask. It was a whole thing. A stakeout, the sandwich place was
2 a.m. maybe?
I'm gonna watch this for a little bit.
Got off late again because the cops got called on the van. JJ was sitting there waiting for me, sure as shit. You worthless.
I'm looking for like a really nice, emotionally vulnerable scene. Now we're back to the Star Wars thing. Since this is all action, I'm going to keep skipping forward, and that's her reel, right? Some contact info at the end, it's fine. But what I'm looking for is, like I said, something a little more vulnerable and emotional. Oh, sorry. Are you guys not hearing me very well when I talk over the reel? I'll try not to talk that much. Okay, so now this is the reel that we worked on with her. And hang on, make this bigger. All right, I'll just play it.
He was cheating with Mom when she got pregnant. He probably never told his wife or his kids.
Oh, yeah. Weird.
You're my half-sibling.
Yeah, but I never think about it that way.
Me neither.
But what about my mom?
I loved her too.
Oh, audio is off. Sorry, I just now saw that. Hold on. How do I fix that? Oh, okay. I'm going to do this the old way. Okay. Sorry, guys. Can you hear that now?
Excuse me.
I'm just going to pause it right here for just a second. But you can see right away that we see more of her as an actress. We see a little more of her personality, and we see a lot more. We get right to the acting. So immediately I'm really drawn
That way.
Me neither.
But what about my mom?
I loved her too.
Excuse me.
Thank you, Tara. Please come back for dinner. I want you in our lives.
We'll do our best.
That's a really nice moment that wasn't actually in her original reel. That could have been right for a lot of different things that I didn't see before. So,
Goodbye, Carla.
now we're back to the Star Wars scene, and now we are taking out the action stuff and we're getting right to the acting.
Kira. Why?
Because you took everything from me.
Kira. Please don't.
Give me a reason. Give me a reason.
This is the path to the dark side.
Baba don't let none of us go when the cops get called because he wants to be the...
We're just drawing the very best moments of that. We're not including everything, just the moments that, you know, just really kind of speak to her at her highest ability.
Last one there to clock up. When I finally got home, JJ was sitting there waiting for me, sure as shit. His body was all bloody and my hands were holding a knife. I've been clean for 3 months. I gotta get my baby
So
back.
that was about 2 minutes, which is, you know, that's a good, let me put my, stop my screen share back on. So that's, you know, that's a good amount of time for a reel. Doesn't have to be 2 minutes. Like I said, it can be less, it can be more. It just so happened that it worked out to be 2 minutes with all of her strongest work. So that's a really strong reel. You know, I saw a lot of ability there. I saw some range. She didn't produce all of those clips. I know someone was asking. A lot of those are, she's a producer too. The Star Wars thing she happened to produce, which I was just really impressed by. Really quick, someone asked, should drama and comedy be separate? Always, always, always. So for example, someone who mostly works on drama, I'm just looking for dramatic material. So if I'm looking at a reel that has combined genres, I'm going to be skipping around a lot because I don't need to see comedy for the dramatic shows that I work on. Vice versa, if I'm working on a comedy, I really need to see strong comedic ability. I'm going to be skipping around a lot. So to avoid that situation, the more you have to skip around, the more strong moments that would have otherwise sold us get missed, right? So that's kind of the key that I'm talking about. I sure will be showing an example with a self-tape. Should we do that one now? I was going to do that for the Star Wars clips. Their intent to show physical ability. No, that was just a Star Wars tribute thing. I think she's just like a big Star Wars fan, and she just really wanted to do it for funsies. And it came out really well. So can you explain further if you don't mean being able to do both drama and comedy? By range, I just mean you don't have a reel filled with just you crying. You have things that show strength. You show scenes that show you can be an authority figure. You know, there's range in the sense that, like, you're not just playing a Valley girl the whole time. We can see you in different roles, right? Yeah, so should you have two reels, one dramatic and one comedic? not first half and then the other. 2 separate reels are very helpful. Okay, so let's do, I'm going to screen share again. Here we go. And this is, trying to think. Which one should I do? I'm going to show you Sarah's. Sarah's was really fun and interesting in the sense that she didn't have any footage that she felt really showed where she was at. So first, let's watch her comedy reel first, just to change things up a little bit. Okay. Is this the right one? Original comedy reel, that's what we want to see. Okay, so these are a lot of self-tapes, I believe. Are they all self-tapes? Oh wait, let's watch the drama reel then, because these are all self-tapes. The drama reel has self-tapes in it too, I believe. So this is the dramatic reel. Kind of hard to hear.
John Coleman? Didn't you just call like 20 minutes ago and cancel your interview?
You know,
I understand.
Right away, this,
I do.
You know, it's just kind of, this is the thing, right? It's like these types of roles, like I assume if you're an actor with an agent, like you can do this, you know? Like I'm going to assume that. So let's reach a little bit bigger. And then I go to the next scene and it's so dark.
Go and cancel.
I almost
doesn't have to be anything
like don't know where she
too
is.
long or extravagant. But I know that he would have wanted it just as
dark
as I do.
I've read books.
Good.
And tables.
Good.
And nowhere else to go.
So that was really short.
What do you mean?
It's just kind of her crying, and it ended up being her strongest clip that she had. So we definitely went back and drew some more interesting moments of that. It was also a little further in. We're at the 30-second mark. Someone might have missed that and not known that she could be that vulnerable.
He left. Are you sure? What happened? He was there. Yes.
Myself forever. You shouldn't do that.
So now we're getting to something log. I need to be able to see how you handle dialogue, how you respond to other actors and all that stuff. So for me, if I were going through this reel, I would immediately start stepping forward and that would be it, right? So to kind of see how that was reworked,
Ellie, what's happening?
so we immediately start with that scene that really is kind of really just, kind of draws you in, high stakes scene,
You think I can't help it? I'm here.
Ellie!
Oh my God, he's gonna
Ellie,
Mommy's gonna find me. I don't know what to do.
I don't understand. You have to tell me what's going on.
What are those? So the next thing she has is a self-tape.
Everyone,
because that was her
fraud.
next strongest material.
That you've been lying to me and to everyone about being a widow? Or a pre-widow or whatever
And
the
this is
fuck
something
you
that
want to
she
call it.
worked
You don't
really
belong
hard
here.
on, so once again, we didn't include the whole self-tape, just multiple moments, her strongest moments within that self-tape.
You didn't lose him. He broke up with you. Probably because you're a fucking lunatic who lies about her fiance being dead. I had no choice. I blamed myself forever. You shouldn't do that. What's done? What do you mean?
He left.
So at this point, we've already seen, you know, a lot of really kind of her strongest work, which is just, you know, obviously going to be the most important. Then we draw the best moments from this just to kind of show a different side of her.
Yes.
Thing.
So our editor
Too
is
long
actually
or
able to lighten this, which is really amazing. So you can see her a little bit better because there was a nice moment in here that I wanted to catch. And luckily he was able to lighten that for us.
Extravagant. But I know that he would have wanted it just as much as I do.
Okay. I'll do it.
Oh, I
So I
love
just
you,
wanted to have that maternal side of her, you know, at
I'll
some
look
point
into
in her reel. So we have that, and then that is the end. Now here is her comedy reel. She really didn't have enough strong work to, or really any, to have anything other than self-tapes for her reel. So this is what we titled it. A collection of comedic self-tapes, which is totally fine. And that's the nice thing about this is we know exactly what we are watching. You're not trying to fool anyone. You're not trying to embellish by saying, this is my reel, and then having a bunch of self-tapes. You're saying, hey, I'm working really hard because I want more comedy auditions to book more comedy jobs to build my comedic reel. Right now, all I have are these self-tapes because I'm training, but you know, so she had these self-tapes and we just pulled those best moments and cut it together for this selection of comedic self-tapes, which is so helpful for us.
And you gotta come back because, honey, your girl's pregnant. Oh, and I know we were supposed to wait until we had all the money stuff in order, but it just happened. And I'm really excited. Chip, please say something.
I thought I was the best to pull her out, or...
Well, you're not. Yahtzee. Did you do the thing with the tickling the balls?
Of course I did the thing with the balls. What am I, an idiot?
Okay, look, just calm down. So you jerked off a couple of dudes. So what? We've all done things for the good of the family.
You jerk people off?
Yes. How do you think we got all that airtime for Oil It Up?
Anyway, but you know, she didn't have anything that really showed where she's at with her comedy, so we put some scenes on tape, and we just drew from those best moments there. The last one that I just want to show you really quick is Hannah's reel, because she, she's a really, really strong actress, and she really should be working more. And just to kind of show you the differences here. This one's a little bit smaller. Might not be as high quality. Let's see.
Back away or I swear to God I'm gonna kill you.
Yes, I know you will.
I need your car, Whitey.
Yeah, the company vehicle.
Give me the keys.
You're not going to get very far tonight in your condition, dear.
We'll see about that.
I'm not a killer.
Oh, yes, you are. I've been following
So at
your
this
story.
point, I'll probably skip forward a little bit. So this is a really beautiful moment that you'll see in her other reel. That really should, in my opinion, have opened up her reel. You can see it better on her newer reel, but I just wanted to point that out.
I can't fight it. It's our destiny.
This is a lot.
I don't believe in destiny.
So this
Husband
is
is here and ready to be in.
that I hired her for on Criminal Minds. And it's fine. We talked about it. I was like, look, we wanted to get her on the show. This was kind of the only role left at the point. But I don't think that it is her strongest work, even though it's in here and it's pretty far up into her reel. It's only a blip that she put in there originally.
I'm seeing him.
Because I have message boards filled with testimonies about how crazy and delusional you
now
are.
We're gonna have a lot of cray girl, right, going on.
They're gonna have a field day, Julie. And when I call them, and I'm gonna, and I'll say, help!
So that's kind of a lot of what I'm seeing here. And now it's just kind of dancing, and at that point I would be done. So, like I said, she's an amazing actress, and I wanted to make sure that people were seeing that. So I'm going to go back here, and we're just going to watch this real quick to see what might have been missed.
I love you.
Now you can see that really nice moment, opened up the reel, really strong, really kind of captivating. It makes you want to keep just watching. And this is a really amazing moment she had in an indie film that I'm so glad she shared with me, because she just has some beautiful moments in it.
Yes, honey. Yeah.
No, never! Why would you do this to me?
It's always the cleaning crew, huh? Our company had a contract with the Reserve for the past 10 years. They trusted us. Lonnie would never do anything to ruin that.
You're still in love with him, aren't you?
I don't know what I'm gonna do.
I'll tell you what you're gonna do. You are gonna come to the Chelsea tonight because it'll be fun and distracting.
My mom was gonna take me to see Hello Dolly.
That could be right for so many roles.
That sounded
That's
best.
so kind of in her vein, but it wasn't in her original reel, so it might have been missed, you know?
When did you find out about Luke?
Early enough. I just know you so well. You've always been a terrible liar. That's probably why your brain had to create the amnesia, so you could fool yourself in order to fool everyone else. Almost everyone.
He's dead. Luke's dead, isn't he?
Yes. Just go ahead, ask it.
You killed him, didn't you?
Hi.
Hey, I work at Fieldstone Regional Med in the pharmacy.
Yes, I came to talk to your boss.
Yeah, you gave him your card. He left it in the office and I took it. I'm seeing him, dating him. Sorry, I should have told you when you came.
You're dating your boss?
I'm dating John Mahan.
Okay, so I am able to see a lot of ability, a lot of strength from that reel, right? And kind of no matter where I skip forward within that reel, there's something in there that is interesting. There's these really interesting moments, these beats that she takes that's really going to sell it for a lot of different roles, right? If it's for, she's kind of more in the guest star, you know, I don't know that she really goes up for co-stars anymore, but if it was a smaller guest star role, I would know she could play those roles with her eyes closed. It's like that Criminal Minds role. Even though I didn't really see much of that in her reel, I knew she could do it, right? I knew she could. And so it was a really easy sell. See what someone's saying. Should we okay, so as far as labeling goes, one thing that we see a lot of or just hear a lot of in the casting office is associates, casting directors, whoever it is watching, they'll say, what is this? Like, what am I watching? What show is this? You know, and they're paying so much attention to try to figure it out and not enough attention to you acting. So to alleviate that a little bit, I always recommend labeling your clips. Just very, very subtly, nothing distracting, just really subtle lower third in the corner that says what it is in the network and goodbye, right? So that way we've got the answer. Now we're focused more on you. I don't think it is necessary to label self-tapes. We know it's a self-tape. I don't care where it's from. It doesn't matter, right? But when we start to see other actors and other TV shows, and we kind of think, oh, is that Good Girls, or is that, what is that? You know, self-tapes don't matter. You don't have to label them, but labeling everything else is so helpful. And I also really appreciate when actors label the type, you know, if it's a short film or if it's a feature film. It's just helpful for me to, you know, it's on your resume. Why shouldn't it be on your reel? So one quick thing that I want to say that I think actors tend to confuse or to mesh together is to remember that you have 3 main actor tools, okay? Your headshot, your resume, and your reel. And each of those serve a very specific purpose. Your headshot is to show us what you look like. Your resume is to show us your experience. And your reel is to show us your acting ability, period. When actors start to add footage into their reel because they think, I just shot this really fancy scandal booking, I'm really excited about it, and I want to add it to my reel. So this was a situation that I was working with an actor who had just booked a co-star on Scandal, and she sent it to me and she's like, I really want to add this in here. And unfortunately, the way it was shot is that it was a really wide shot in a really busy train terminal with people going in all different directions. And she was on a cell phone talking to her boss. You didn't know where she was. You didn't really know what was happening. The only reason why I was able to tell where she was is because I was familiar with her at that point. Nobody else would know. It didn't serve her. If it was anyone else, it would have been skipped over, right? So trust that your resume does that job for you. Your reel is not a digital representation of your resume. It's not. It is a space to show us your acting ability. Don't worry, because if that reel shows us 2 minutes, 30 seconds, whatever it looks like for you of incredible acting work, and then we go to your resume and we're pleasantly surprised that you've actually booked some things, that's just a bonus at that point, right? So I don't need to know in your reel that you've booked these network television shows to want to meet you and bring you in. I just want to make that clear. Just as a rule, don't add in footage that doesn't serve you, regardless of what it is. There was another actress I was working with, still working with right now, who was in a scene with Bruce Willis. And that's pretty cool, you know? But you couldn't see her at all. Like I literally was on the phone with her and I'm like, I missed it. Where is it? And she was like, no, it's right there. It's right there. Like there's him and there's me. And I'm like, this is my 5th time watching. I literally, it's like he's talking in this really low lit bar with, extras passing in front of them, and I'm like, I see him talking, but I don't see you at all. Anyway, I had to watch it like 5 times and I'm like, oh, I think that's you. It's that doesn't do anything for her, right? Like I told her, I was like, if you want to kind of showcase that, say on your resume, you know, feature film, Universal, whatever it is, say supporting in your category, and then you can say opposite Bruce Willis if you want. That's fine. You know, let that do that job for you, and let your resume be a portrayal of your acting ability. Don't mix the two, please. Okay. I've done a lot of talking. And I know that there's a lot of questions here. So let me open it up to some questions about anything you saw pertaining to reels. If you want to just use that little hand button, that way we can talk to each other. And I will let you unmute yourself. Let me just make sure I can do that. Hang on. Okay. Hang on. Where did my list go? Is this it? Sorry. Oh, there we go. Okay, cool. Now I see them. All right. So we'll start with Marwa. I'm going to ask you to unmute and go for it.
Hey, everybody. How are you?
Hi. How's it going?
Good. How about you?
Good. Thank you.
Thanks. That was all really informative. I'm actually just started getting ready to update my reel. And so, really helpful. Do you think it's better to have, it seems like you cut everybody's up into comedic and drama, or is it okay to just have everything in one reel?
No, because then we're going to be skipping around looking for what we need to find, right? So if I'm working on a drama, very rarely am I looking for really strong comedic chops. Right. I'm looking for dramatic material. So I would definitely recommend always separating by genre, whether that's drama, comedy, and then if you have, any other special skills like stunts, if you speak another language, that's really helpful to have a reel or a separate clip that way, just so that I can verify you can actually speak that language, and hosting. So if you do hosting and that's kind of part of your, wheelhouse, having that as a separate reel is really helpful as well.
Cool. And then my last question, if you have something that kind of skirts both, would you put it on both reels or would you choose one?
You can, and I've done that before. If it works for both, if you feel as though you need that in your dramatic reel to show a certain side of you, sure. Personally, I've talked to a lot of different comedic casting directors about this because I wanted to make sure I was kind of speaking, for a majority. And right before the shutdown, I was working on a Netflix comedy, and we were really just looking for strong comedic actors. Those producers, they're looking for really strong comedy chops. Comedy is hard, right? So we tend to read more actors for comedy, I would say, to really kind of highlight the actors, the writers' jokes, and to just kind of really make them look good. In your comedy reel, honestly, I'm not looking for a rom-com or dramedy. I'm really looking for what's your comedic timing? What's your comedic pacing? How do you add buttons? That's what I'm looking for when I'm looking for strong comedic actors. And if you don't have that and you're really interested in working in more comedy, then I would suggest putting some scenes on tape that can show that. The only time that I would suggest, if it's kind of on the cusp, if it's from a really well-known comedy series or a really well-known comedic film, we know that, you can play in a film or a show like that with all these other great actors. We know that you've got some, comedic chops. Other than that, stick to the really just straight comedy. Cool. Okay, let's see. Let's go to Blythe. I'm gonna ask you to unmute.
Hi.
Hi. How's it going?
Good. Thank you for all of this, by the way.
My pleasure.
Okay, so I had a question about, I asked it in the chat, but if you have good footage, as far as quality of the acting in class, because I take it on camera, scene study class, and it's really good practice as far as auditioning and stuff like that. But would that be good enough to go on a reel, or what do you think?
It depends. If it was recorded on Zoom or something, sometimes the quality isn't that high. Usually I say with an in-person class, you know, sometimes you can hear the other actors or anything. If it's a true self-tape where there's no one else talking, it's just you and the reader, you're really well lit, the video quality and the sound quality is high, then absolutely. So as long as all those elements are working in your favor, then there's no reason you can't use it. But in my experience, when I'm watching tapes from classes, usually there's some sort of distracting element in there. So if not, then absolutely go for it.
Okay, cool. And then I had a question about adding a commercial. Would you put that more for comedy or like your?
So there was actually a reel I was going to show. We were just kind of losing some time, but there, it depends. You know, if it very much looks like a commercial, don't use it. Right? There's a reel that I was going to show. I don't know, TBD on if I'll have to. It kind of just depends on the amount of questions, but there's a beautiful emotional maternal moment that this actress is really good at that was not in her reel. It was a Panda Express commercial. You would never know in a million years. And it was basically her meeting her adoptive daughter for the first time, and that moment of meeting her, it was beautiful. And we cut that and we used it, and it doesn't look like a commercial at all. And that instance, absolutely. Who cares that it's just because it's a commercial, you can't use it. If it looks too much like a commercial though, we're just going to skip over it because it's a commercial. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense? Yeah. So if it's one of those like, I don't know, I guess you could call it like an industrial something or a commercial that's used for like a YouTube channel. So it's like kind of on that cusp and it looks kind of like it could be a scene, then go for it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. Thank you.
No problem. All right. How about Allie Aston? Allie Aston, where are you at?
Hey there.
Hi.
I was just curious, you mentioned special skills and stunt reels as a separate thing. Does that go for singing and or dancing and or underwater basket weaving, things like that?
That's an amazing skill. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's not a lot of, sure, there's actually cast a dance movie, which is a lot of fun. So yeah, absolutely. If there are special skills that you could potentially go out for, 100% add that as a separate, it can be a reel, it can be a clip, whatever it is. You know, for example, when we were casting that dance movie, we needed really strong dancers. They were really concerned about that. And but we also have to have great actors. So being able to see that dance clip was really, really helpful for us. That's the only time that I would ever separate anything. Yeah. Okay. Let's do Rachel. Or sorry, let's go to Justin and then we'll go to Rachel. Hang on. Oh, she just went away. Oh, here she is. Okay. Okay, Rachel, you there?
Yes, hi.
Hi, how are you?
Good. So I'm over 18 to play younger. So I was wondering, should I do more like add some more mature things in there or just put what I can realistically play?
Play what you can realistically play, for sure. Yeah, because we don't want you to see, you know, something that is not realistic and bring you in and then doesn't work. So just stick to your awesome self.
All right, thank you.
All right, thanks, Rachel. All right, Justin, go ahead.
Hi, thank you, first and foremost. Yeah, definitely appreciate it.
My pleasure. There you are.
Just a quick question, or at least two brief ones, I think. So when organizing a reel, I noticed that a lot of the clips or the content was from one project and then going to the next. And so I was just trying to clarify and understand, obviously it's important to put the clips that we think are strongest up front. So is it better to organize this all from one project and then go to the next one instead of having maybe like a one?
Yeah, it's distracting when it's like clearly the same project. It makes me think that you're trying to do something, you know. I much more prefer to just see a hard cut from moment to moment in the same project. You know what I mean? So you saw a little bit of that. We know exactly what, if you're hard cutting to something else, I know what that is. Again, this is not a short film, right? This is just it's an acting reel. It doesn't have to be like beautiful cuts and telling us any sort of story. It's just an acting reel. So something that I've also seen is a little bit off topic from your question is actors wanting to focus so much on themselves that they cut so frequently to cut the other actor out to put the focus more on them. Like, we are used to seeing other actors in your reel. Please don't worry about that. Like, we're you know, we're used to seeing that. So that can be distracting. I mean, obviously we do cut a little bit when it's like, okay, this is a nice moment. Now I want to cut to this next moment. Totally used to that. But stick to the same project. If there's 2 or 3 amazing moments in that same project, just cut them back and forth. Not back and forth, but back to back.
Awesome. And thank you for that last point, because I mean, you already answered it, but I was wondering too, if we're in a scene that we're at the top and we're toward the end of the scene and there's like a little bit of a drag or a lull, I was wondering what's...
Cut it out. Yeah, for sure.
Thank you.
My pleasure. All right. I said we were going to... Let's see her. All right. Why don't we do Samantha?
Oh, hey.
Hi.
Hi. Thank you so much for doing this. Per usual. Just really quick, you were saying about no for theater clips because they're far away. If someone is doing a self-tape and it's like it has all the non-distracting things, like it's well lit, all those kind of things, how do you feel about, or I guess what if you have something like that checks those boxes but is maybe like a Shakespeare monologue or a Shakespeare scene? Is that generally like nah because like TV film, or like yeah?
I mean, if you're gonna choose something, I would say stick to TV film, you know, just because very, very rarely are you gonna be going out for Shakespearean TV or film.
Or like that's gonna be something that you like, or like, oh, that quality.
Yeah, like she can do that, you know, amazing monologue from King Lear. She could totally play this nurse, you know. It doesn't quite add up. So yeah, I would focus on more TV film for sure.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, we'll go to Josh. Oops. Let me ask you to unmute. Does it work? I can never tell if this is working.
Oh, hey.
Oh, hi.
Does that work?
Yeah.
Hi.
How's it
How
going?
you doing, Romani?
Hey.
So thank you again, like everyone's saying. Very, very informative for us all.
Good.
My question, oh, it's my birthday, by the way. When I woke up, I was thinking I have to be clear with my question.
You're on your birthday.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, it's I love it. So
yeah.
My question is, I have a scene where it's an A-list actor, and I don't have any lines, but is that still, I mean, there's a reaction. The scene is kind of, you know,
yeah,
it's on me.
I guess it depends on the reaction. If it's like, look, there can be some great non-dialogue acting for sure, you know. If it's not like serving you as much as it should, I would say, like I said, let your resume do that work for you. Say it was opposite of whoever that actor was on your resume. That's really impressive that, you know, they cast you knowing that's who you were doing the scene with. Because we certainly want to put great actors with great actors. I guess if you do put it more towards the end. Sure. And focus more on the real acting stuff in the beginning, because we don't want to miss that. Because if we see that and we're not really seeing anything happening, we're going to keep skipping forward to seeing just you doing your thing, you know. So I want to make sure no one's missing something because we're skipping around trying to find it.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
Then real quick, I noticed that transitions were seem to be kind of important in there. Is that
just simple transitions, you know. I mean, generally we just do like a really simple fade so that we know we're kind of done with that project. We're going on to the next thing. Is just kind of signals that. For comedy, I would say editing comes in maybe like a tiny bit more into play, because editing kind of goes along with comedic pacing and comedic timing. So the way that we cut, we really want to make you look as funny as you can. And the fades are actually a little bit shorter because we're not trying to have that kind of dramatic effect. You know what I mean? And so that's like the teeny amount of actual editing that goes into for the transitions and the editing at all.
Cool. Thank you so much.
Yeah, my pleasure. All right. Let me we'll take a couple more questions and then wrap it up in a little bit. Anna, we'll go to you next. Anna, I believe it's Anna. Is it Anna or Anna?
Oh my God. It's Anna Victoria.
Oh,
Hi, how are you?
Going?
Don't worry. Well, thank you very much for this opportunity. I'm from Venezuela, so it's a great access
awesome. That's so cool. What time
to
is
this world. It's 7:30 p.m.
Okay.
So we're not that.
Yeah.
My question is, in the reel, should I have other language films, such as, or should I start like if I'm trying to go for American films or TV, should I start with English and then can I add the Spanish, or should it be in a different reel, as you said, with other skills?
Great question. So I've worked on a lot of reels, especially lately, where they had other languages in it. I am much more concerned with acting. So if there's amazing acting going on and you're speaking in a language other than English and there's subtitles, then I'm okay with that being more towards the front. But if there's not subtitles, I might, I have no way personally of understanding. A lot of people might not have a way of understanding, so we might just skip forward and look for the English. Subtitles, like I can understand and I'm interested, Sometimes some people who speak multiple languages will have sort of their English speaking reel, and then just to prove that they can speak these other languages, they have a special language reel. So we've cut together reels where people have spoken 4 to 5 different languages, and they just put a few different scenes speaking those languages just so that we could verify that they actually do speak them. And it was really, really helpful because many, many times when we're casting, we need actors who speak Spanish, and then they come in and they use Google Translate, and it's very clear that they don't speak Spanish. It's not so helpful. So it is helpful to be able to see ahead of time, okay, they actually can speak the language and they're not just using Google Translate.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes, of course. I see some questions down here too, so I'm sure I'm not missing anything. The difference between a speed reel and a standard reel. So that's a good question. So if on the site, there's all these different packages, and a lot of times actors are a little confused between the speed reel and the standard reel. The speed reel, 2 things. If you don't have a lot of footage, it's kind of a starter place for actors, I would say. If you're like, I have a couple things and I have a couple self-tapes, let's not try to make this big thing out of a little amount of clips, right? Let's just use what you have. If you have a lot of footage, don't try to squeeze that into a speed reel. Something might be missed, okay? So it's kind of where you're at with the footage you have and where you're at in your actor journey. Also, it's a different tool in the sense that what we do, if you have a standard and a speed reel, is we make that speed reel an abbreviated version of the standard reel. So while the standard reel is kind of this nice highlight of all of your best work, the speed reel is an even more abbreviated version of that. And it's a tool for us to use when we're going through submissions. We check a lot of actors, and as we're going back to narrow things down, we can then click on the speed reel, which is a really just quick highlight reel of that. We know exactly, we can make that decision. We can also send the speed reel to our producers, which is really, really nice to have, because they tend to think they need to watch the entire thing and spend hours and hours and hours, poor things, watching you know, these reels, and it's really nice to be able to give them a speed reel, a 60 seconds or less, to get the best of your standard reel. So it's just an extra tool. You don't necessarily need it, but it's just, again, it's just an extra thing for us to use in these different ways. That's kind of the difference. So there's the speed reel, the standard reel, and then there's multiple genres depending on the different genres, comedy, drama, or any of those other special skills that we talked about. And that's kind of how that works. So this is a very common question. If we edit our own material, can we do a career consult package and get the tidbits to re-edit versus the package? So the difference is, you know, when we're going through everything, the consultations are more of like a career overview to kind of get you unstuck and get you headed in the direction that you're wanting to head. You know, the difference between the two is that we're going through all of the footage and we are going back and forth. A lot of times we're assigning you self-tapes. We're giving you character notes. We're giving you scene notes. We're giving you, we're working with you on your self-tape setup. You're bringing it back to us. Sometimes we give you notes. Sometimes you do it again. We're pulling those best moments. We're giving, you know, all of these different things to work together to get the best reel. So it's a little bit cumbersome, you know, because otherwise it's just like a one time when we're kind of giving you the notes and then you're away on your own, versus when we kind of work together and collaborate to get that. And then many times what I do is I make the timestamps, or the first available casting director makes the timestamps, sends them to the editor. He sends me back a first edit. I watch it sometimes. I then take things out, edit things back in, decide, you know what, we actually really need a self-tape for this specific sort of, you know, I'm not really getting a lot of like strength from this reel. I'm going to assign you this kind of a self-tape. I'm going to go back and assign that to you. I'm going to watch it. I'm going to give you notes. We're going to collaborate together on that, and then we're going to put it back in. So it's a longer process. That's, you know, that's kind of the difference between the two. Okay, so we have time for a couple more questions. Sorry, I'm just reading some of these. Rather than shooting the scene with another actor as a real scene. So that's what I was saying kind of earlier. If you shoot the scene as a real scene, that's fine. I'm not against that. You're just then at the mercy of the other actor in the scene, of the production elements. If they're not top notch, it can be distracting. You're at the mercy of the writing. If it's not, you know, if you're going to use writing from a TV show and then go shoot it on your own, that's distracting, because it's like, wait, I'm watching a scene from The Good Place, but this is definitely not The Good Place, you know? So it can be a little bit distracting if not done really, really, really well. Oh, can you talk a little bit about the new normal? I'll talk a little bit about that and then wrap it up. And then I want to share once again, in case anyone missed our donation total, since I was very excited about that. The new normal, essentially for casting, it just means that we're going to be digital casting, you know, in our kind of little small casting community, that people are saying at least for the next 6 months, we're going to be casting virtually. So that means self-tapes, which means now is a really important time to work on that self-tape setup. And we are also going to be using that virtual casting platform on Breakdown Services, which they are calling EcoCast Live, I believe someone said, which is essentially like a Zoom-like experience for Breakdown Services, a Zoom-like experience for casting directors, for actors. So that's really great, because it's the same way we go through submissions. Then we send you this email, we send you the time, you get the audition time the same way you would a normal audition. Then you show up to that audition, meaning in your self-tape spot, ready to audition. Then you're put into a waiting room. and then you work with us. And the nice thing about that is, again, we work together to get the take that we believe is going to book you the job. However, we are at the mercy of your own self-tape setup. When you come into the office, we are your directors, we are your producers. We have the great lighting, we have the great microphones, we have the background, we have readers in our office who are going to give you great performances. All of that stuff we have to set you up for success. Now we are kind of at your own disposal. I mean, we'll be able to read with you still, but if we can't see the amazing stuff that's happening behind your eyes because you're not well lit, there's nothing we can do about that. If there's something distracting in your tape, if the audio is not good, there's nothing we can do about that. So now's a really great time to focus on that. As far as what it's like on set, that's kind of, there's a lot. You can definitely read about the SAG protocol that's online right now, about all the safety measures they're taking. They're being really, really thorough and really, really diligent. And the good news is that since productions were allowed to start back up almost 2 months ago, there have been, to my knowledge, 0 positive cases to come out of those productions, to my knowledge, at least right now, which is good. There's a lot of testing. There's a lot of staggered A/B crews. There's a lot of productions aren't doing catering or crafty, which kind of sucks, but hey, at least we can go back to work. But the good news is that all of the cast and crew unions, SAG, IATSE, Teamsters are really, really working together to make sure that we can safely go back to work. One thing I want to say is, if there's anything you're never comfortable with now, with anything, obviously in your career, but especially now, if you don't feel comfortable about something, if you're getting an in-person audition right now, there's no reason for that. So if your agent is pressuring you to go in and you don't feel comfortable going in, you should be able to self-tape. If your agent is telling you they're not going to ask for that and they're not going to submit you because you're not willing to go in person, that's not a good agent. Okay. Your safety should be their number one priority. It should be everyone's number one priority. So please, we're not gonna think anything of it. For the most part, I would say no one's doing in-person auditions right now, but don't ever feel like you need to do that to have a leg up. You definitely won't. Okay. Thank you guys so much for being here. I really, really appreciate you hanging out with me on a Thursday and showing up and asking great questions and donating. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Once again, if you missed the beginning part of this class, because of your generous donations, we were able to raise a little over $1,000. It was exactly $1,080. And I was just so thrilled to see everyone, $1, $5, whatever it was. I so appreciate it. It was for Center of Black Equity, which is an amazing organization that supports and empowers the Black LGBTQ community. And to thank you guys for all of that. We sent you a little surprise in your email, so I just wanted to do something to thank you, because it really means a lot to me, and I'm trying to give it back as much as I can right now. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Enjoy your day. Stay safe, stay healthy. Keep going, don't stop. You came this far not to stop, okay? Love you guys. Bye.